What's going on, everybody? It's your boys C-Zar, and we are talking about Zebec today, ZBCN USD. Hit that like button, subscribe, and thank you all for being here. It is the 13th day of July, and here we are with about 11 hours left in the day, sitting at $0.0211, looking like we might see a lower low here than we've seen in this whole trajectory down. I have had the inclination that this downtrend is about to get broken and we are about to move to the upside here. I want to talk about that, and I've been, talking about that at length, I think, since really the beginning of this month of July. I theorized a bounce back here. We got bearish after this rejection here, so we were bearish down to here, but then again we've flipped bullish. We've been bullish. I've been bullish at least for the past couple of weeks or so now, expecting a bounce around here. And if we go a little bit lower, that's fine, whatever. But I am looking for a bounce around here. We go back in time. Shout out to Crypto Future. Shout out to Rob Mass. We were talking about Zebec yesterday, and I want to take a little bit from yesterday's analysis and apply it to this video here. We go back in time, and Zebec, before it went on this very nice run from a low to a high that we had in February to April there. We had a low here, a high here, all the way down here, right? We didn't just move in a straight line. We had volatility. We had volatility, lows, highs. It was volatile, right? There were moments where we were in this kind of consolidation phase down and then we broke out. Moments where we were in this consolidation phase down and then we broke out, right? Here we are in this consolidation phase down, and not even consolidation, but like a trend. It is completely possible that we do move lower, but I would at least think that we have some type of move that's outside of the norm that reaches, above this trend line before moving lower. That's my suspicion. That's my expectation. Zebec can form a trend for quite some time, but it falls out of that trend every now and then, and it gets people excited, right? The market makers, the smart money, the people with large amounts of money, the people who made the wrong decisions and bought the highs, but they've kind of got deer in the headlights syndrome. Whenever the price moves up like this, that's an opportunity for people to get out and make the right decision. It's also an opportunity for people who, like to FOMO, to make the wrong decision and buy into prior resistance, prior support, prior resistance here. And it happens, man. I mean, you get a little pump here. Zebec, with the type of coin that it is, with all the hype that it has and all the fundamental brilliance that it has, a 30% pump or more would definitely captivate some people and make them want to buy. They might feel like they're missing out, but the smart money or the people who take the opportunity to sell, I think that would be a better opportunity there than to buy. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. We look at this from a high to a low, relatively speaking, and if this is the low, these are going to be accurate representations. If it's not the low, notice how these lines move. They come down, so these representations will be inaccurate to the upside, right? It would probably be more moderate. What's the word? More conservative. The retracement wouldn't be as high as I'm making it out to be right now if we go lower by whatever margin. Even if we go lower from here, I would think that it's not too much lower. We're probably in an area where we're going to bounce. Maybe at the lowest we go to like 0.002 itself. From a low here to a high here. We are in this golden ratio zone. 0.002 is the low there. It's kind of at the apex of this consolidation phase here. So I don't know. Makes sense to me. Anyways, if this is the low, this is an accurate representation. The idea would be that we would at least go to the 382. That's my thoughts, and that is at 0, 0. It says 0.026, basically 0.027, 0.0269. It's very common to wick above the 382 a little bit. You don't typically just find resistance right at the 382, but you wick above it a little bit. So something above 0.027 would be my expectation. If not, all the way up as high as, yes, even 0.0328. 0.027 to 0.0328 is a possible outcome. Anything and everything in between is also possible. So that's the expectation here. That would break us out of this downtrend, and a lot of people would get excited, and then we'd sell off. That's the whole thought. That's the whole theory, the whole enchilada there. We look at this from a low to a high. It's very common to go from your golden ratio zone to your 382 area. Sometimes you go from your golden ratio zone all the way back up to your 236, And again, I mean, that does line up with that same area that we were just outlining there. So that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. If you come up and you find resistance at the 0.5 though, and then we come back down, maybe that wouldn't be so good. Maybe that would be so good. We found resistance here at the 0.5 and then came down, but we hadn't interacted with the golden ratio yet. It's different, right? Finding resistance at the golden ratio, finding support at the golden ratio, and then finding resistance at the 0.5, that's bad. Going from, working your way down, you're finding resistance here, and then this is your first interaction with the golden ratio. It's not so bad. It's different. It's kind of expected, actually. So anyways, getting into the short-term stuff, I hope that all makes sense. If it doesn't, I don't know. It's just the way I like to talk, I guess. 1 hour time frame. You kind of do have bullish divergence on the RSI. Very bearish RSI overall. Stochastics are bearish. The MACD, bullish divergence. You do have bullish divergence on all of these indicators, to be fair. So bearish, but bullish. The 4 hour RSI is terrible. It absolutely is. So are the stochastics. The MACD also sucks because you're rejecting the zero. However, you've kind of rejected this, rejected it again, and you're still forming higher lows throughout. I do think there's a reckoning coming here. And we're going to get to the exciting stuff here in just a second, okay, you guys? Going from getting oversold to now bouncing off the oversold zone, if you can bounce off of this area and form like a double bottom in the process or a triple bottom, whatever you want it to be, maybe you form some type of fake out low and then you bounce up from there, whatever the case may be. Bouncing off the oversold zone after getting into it like this is typically a bullish signal, not a bearish signal, okay? We go back to when things were good, all the way back here in April. You were getting overbought, no problem, getting overbought, no problem. Once you started rejecting the overbought zone, that started becoming a problem. Then you started rejecting it more and rejecting it, right? You're not living in it as much now. You're living in the oversold zone. And whenever you bounced off the oversold zone here, you're at a relative low. You did see a higher price. It wasn't as dramatic. You're in this overall bearish phase. Maybe it won't be that dramatic of a higher price from here, but still, I would at least expect that you do move up to some degree over the coming days. Here's the exciting thing. Here's what really convinced me and has kept me convinced that you are at an area where you could expect to see some recovery. So I'm talking to the people who want to make a short-term play. They like Zebec. They like to make trades, whatever. You want to make a play that's probably going to give you about, anything from 25 to 40% gains from here. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. If that sounds good to you, it might be a good time to DCA in and set up your sell orders for that inevitable price action. I'm also talking to the people who bought back here, who bought back here, who bought back here, who didn't take profits, who could have mitigated their losses, who bought at a bad time. If that's any of you, you have an opportunity now to finally take those profits at a better price, to mitigate those losses at an area you should have mitigated them at, and to sell break even for anybody who bought back here. So there's an opportunity for various types of people, and maybe types that I haven't addressed as well, to sell at a significantly better price than you're at now. Okay, so it's not the exact high, but it will be an opportunity. Most of you who are hearing this, who is that type of person that I'm talking to, excluding the type of person that buys here that doesn't have their skin in the game at all, they're just buying here for the short-term play, there's going to be some of you who are aware of this opportunity and you still don't sell, and then you watch it come back down. My thoughts are, if you want to hold it for the long term, go for it. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Do what you want. But if you're not going to sell here, you better not sell here, because wouldn't you know it, we get some volatility and then it's just another lower high and you could have sold at a better price. You know what I mean? Wait for those opportunities to come. That's my best kind of thought there, I guess. The RSI. The RSI is what gets me really excited, because typically whenever you trend like this, you get your lower lows, lower highs, you trend and you end your trend in the oversold zone. If you're in an upward sloping trend, you end your trend in the overbought zone, right? Just like we did here. So not always. It's not always that way. Again, the word I chose to use was typically, typical. It's typical to do this, right? Higher lows, higher highs here, you ended in the overbought zone, okay? And imagine if I assumed here that you were ending your uptrend because you were already overbought. You still went higher. You had a very, very massive move, okay? Same thing here. If you assume that the trend is over here just because we're oversold, maybe we miss a massive move to the downside. However, you do have bullish divergence on the RSI. You do have bullish divergence on the stochastics. The MACD is shaping up a little bit. You've got these higher lows coming in overall, and you kind of seem to be at an area where you'd expect to find support. Your bearish momentum is dying, and you also have lower lows. That's bullish divergence to a degree as well. And you're in the golden ratio zone. You're at this area where it kind of makes sense to move up. As you're moving down here, volume is depleting. It's going away entirely. You're at some of the lowest levels of volume you've seen, really since March. And you were at the end of this consolidation phase here, and you broke out, right? You could break out to the downside, you could break out to the upside, but the breakout's coming soon, and you're probably going to get a more sizable move than you've seen this whole month of July. And it's probably going to happen this month of July, I would think, if not early August. The RSI is what gets me excited, because it does seem as though you're turning the tide a little bit here. It seems as though, obviously you're still in your downtrend, but this little part here seems like you're turning the tide a bit. You're not necessarily in this downtrend, right? You rejected here and you saw a lower low, but here you rejected, you didn't see the lower low. You're actually dilly-dallying and you're staying above the oversold zone. What happens when you go from getting in the oversold zone, you're casual with it, to now you're rejecting it? Makes me think that you might come up. So again, in that context, we take this high and assume the low here. If it does go lower, these prices change a little bit, but I would still assume something roughly between 0027 to 00328 comes your way. That's all I've got. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.